안녕하세요. 비트의 아버지입니다. 영상 마지막에 구독자분들을 위한 4월 무료 이벤트 진행하오니 참여하시고 혜택 받아보시기 바랍니다. 4월 4일 투자은행 JP모건이 비트코인은 현재 디지털금 내러티브가 무너지고 있다고 경고했습니다. 비트코인이 최근 미국 주식시장과 높은 상관관계를 보이며 위험자산처럼 움직이고 있다는 분석이죠. 현재 금은 통화가치 희석에 대한 해지 수단으로 재조명받고 있지만 비트코인은 여전히 레버리지 높은 위험자산처럼 반응한다고 설명했습니다. 이번 경고는 미중 무역 갈등과 트럼프발 관세의 불확실성이 암호화폐 시장에 구조적 충격을 줄 수 있음을 시사합니다. 시장은 당분간 디커플링이 아닌 높은 연동성을 기준으로 BTC를 해석할 가능성이 높아 보입니다.
Larry, what's going on with the price of Bitcoin?
Yeah, so, let me just elaborate on what I think is going on. And it's probably not what Bitcoiners want to hear right now, but so I think if you look at what's going on, where we are in the movie, right? We're at the point in time where the U.S. stock market is about to roll over. It started rolling over, broke through some critical resistance, and we're in a little bit of a bounce right now, but I think we're about to have another leg down. And this is all being driven by the Trump policies, the tariffs and kind of the disruption stuff he's doing. And, the market doesn't like uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty. So, and the market is very overvalued, using any historical measure. So I believe we're about to enter a market downturn, fairly significant one. It's kind of down 10% from the top. I think we could easily go down 20 and maybe even 30 or 40 over the next few months. And if that's the case, that's a negative liquidity event. Stocks get marked down and people feel less wealthy and it's, a cyclical thing for the economy, et cetera. And so typically when that happens, all asset prices go down because people have to sell to meet margin calls, so on and so forth. And as I was saying to Nico pre-show, Bitcoin's not immune from this, sadly. It is sound money. It should be a safety bid, but it won't necessarily get a safety bid. And so I'm actually of the view that, just to cut to the chase, that we could see a lower Bitcoin price before we see a much higher Bitcoin price. And, by that I mean maybe something in the high 70s, something that starts with a 70, which I know is not what people want to hear. But I think it's possible. If it does happen, I don't think it'll last for long. And the reason I say that is that the Federal Reserve has already started to indicate the correlation between the high-tech stocks and Bitcoin. I think this cycle will break that correlation, that this will be the time when, the stock market will roll over and they will come with liquidity to try and prevent the downturn from occurring, and the stocks will ignore it, and Bitcoin won't. Bitcoin will go much, much higher. I also said to Nico, and I think this is really a big tell, will be when this stock market rollover occurs, watch what happens to the U.S. 10-year. Do interest rates go up or do interest rates go down? And the reason that's important is that if interest rates go up, that implies that they really don't have enough money in the system and that they're going to have to go to QE and yield curve control more quickly. I mean, typically history shows that when the stock market rolls over, the bond market ought to get a bid. People who are selling stocks, they go to the safe haven of bonds. If you're going to have a downturn, you get a recession, you want to lock in a yield. That has not been happening recently. The first 5% down in the stock market, bond market caught a little bit of a bid and yields came down a bit. Second 5% down, the bond market went the wrong way. And I think this time, I think people are beginning to figure this game out, which is that we are in a sovereign debt crisis, noted by, $3,000 plus almost $350 gold. And Bitcoin, was at 106, admittedly down from that, but still both record highs within the last few months. And to me, those are both signals that the government is slowly but surely proving they can't solve this problem. And I think the reason the market's done as well as it's done right until now is that there's kind of a false belief that the Lutnick camp and the Musk camp, and the lovers of Trump, and by the way, I don't hate Trump. I just don't agree with everything he does. The lovers are kind of, they've got a lot of happy talk going on. We can land this plane. It's going to be okay. We can cut back this expense. We can, get the bond market down. I mean, they're talking about doing a lot of things that if they could do them, it would be a miracle. And so I think what's going to happen is it's going to become clear that miracle is not likely to happen and that they're going to need help from the Fed to do it. And we all know what help from the Fed means. Help from the Fed means printing money, and printing money means Bitcoin and gold continue to go up.
And your answer was fascinating.
구독자분들이 무료로 참여하실 수 있는 이벤트를 오픈했습니다. 트럼프의 관세 정책의 불안한 시장 속 10년차 트레이더가 실시간으로 차트를 분석하고 공유하는 관전방 참여하셔서 무료 혜택 받아보시기 바랍니다. 그리고 앤드류팀 자체 제작 알파빗 자동매매 무료 체험 신청도 오픈했는데요. 알파빗 자동매매 실제 수익률입니다. 아무래도 사람이 매매를 하다 보면 심리적인 요인이 가장 큰 영향을 미칩니다. 빨리 돈을 벌고 싶은 마음에 무지성으로 의미 없는 단타를 한다든지 차트 분석이 미흡해 익절이나 손절 라인을 잡지도 못하고 잡는다고 할지언정 지키기가 쉽지 않죠. 알파빗 자동매매는 메인 지표와 보조 지표를 이용하여 추세를 파악하고 추종, 최상의 손익비 좋은 익절과 손절 라인을 제공하기 때문에 개인이 매매하는 것보다 훨씬 더 높은 수익률을 냅니다. 빠른 신청 방법은 010-4667-8146 번호로 구독 문자 남겨주시는 분들께 알파빗 자동매매 무료 체험 제공해드립니다. 하단 더보기란과 고정 댓글에 알파빗 자동매매 신청 방법 관전방 링크 남겨뒀습니다. 구독과 좋아요는 영상 제작에 큰 도움이 됩니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.